And basically, my note was that Eric says he's optimistic but unsure about Ronnie Stanley's health and status currently. He says the team has a responsibility to address the tackle position. And of course, he mentioned Morgan Moses, the addition there, and the fact that Juwan James is still, is with the team and has been with the team since last season, but also said that they have a responsibility to continue to address the tackle position. So is it safe to say, like, if you're Eric DeCosta, Jimbo, are you treating Ronnie Stanley as if you can't count on him at all, and that him being back would be a
like a
bonus,
cherry on
or
top?
like,
yeah.
Because if that's the case, then why are we not saying that it's obvious and clear that we're going left tackle in the first round?
Yeah, I mean, you put me on the spot here, Glenn. I feel like Eric DeCosta. I'm gonna start losing my hair.
Exactly.
I'm gonna start losing my hair, dude. No, honestly.
Can you do the accent?
Ah, man, I should be able to, because Eric's from Maine.
Dude, you got it in your blood,
I should be
man.
able to. I know. Jeez, a whiz. My family would be embarrassed. But I guess if I had to answer your question, I would say that they're cautiously optimistic, and that I believe that the tackle position is the second most likely position that goes in the first round. And he's not, I think outside defensive line, and the reason I think that, of course, that the defensive line is more likely is really about how the board will fall, than as far as need goes. Yeah. So I mean, you guys can see it here. Jeff always does a great job of quoting Eric exactly. But yeah. So I guess to answer your question, Glenn, I mean, he's not going to come out and say it, but he did mention some other guys. One thing I thought was interesting in that conversation, he talked about Morgan as a reason they signed, as Morgan was a contingency plan almost. And I know he's played a little bit of left, right? Like,
as far as I know, I mean,
he played a tiny bit of left, didn't he?
I don't know of any in Washington. Maybe a little bit with
the Jets.
Gosh, yeah, the Jets where he was last year, but I don't even think that. I think you'd be hard pressed to find any snaps from Morgan at left tackle.
But that's definitely, to me, not something we want to do again, right? Like, get a guy that plays right and then switch him left. Now, we did that last year, and he ended up playing left, but Alejandro didn't look great at right before he went back to left, which was his natural position. So, yeah, I think they're just seeing Ronnie as a cherry on top, and I think that
that's scary, though. I mean, that scares the hell out of me, because I see a lot of other holes, which we're going to get into. And obviously, first round is the best opportunity to fill that hole with a day one starter. And I'm looking at quite a few positions, and I'm hopeful. I was hopeful that left tackle wasn't one of them, because, like you mentioned, every team seems like they need a tackle, especially if you're picking in the upper part of the draft. So there's likely going to be a run at the tackles that are, the most likely day one starter. So, man, at 14, I don't know if that's a good spot to get a starting left tackle.
Right. You get like a 1B guy, you know what I mean? Who's maybe a reach, maybe not a reach. But I'll tell you what, we talked about this guy before, but the kid out of, what is it, Northern Iowa, Jennings, Trevor is his first name, right?
Penning, Trevor Penning.
Penning, yeah. He'd be one to keep your eye on, in my opinion.
Okay. Yeah, so, but at that, man, it's just like, is that the value you want to go there? Or do you want to go maybe
because there's so many other holes,
corner?
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the tough part, and so that's a great point. I think we're gonna get into that as well. But yeah, there's so many holes. There's so much writing on this draft. You would hate to have to use your highest valued pick with a player that is one of your highest paid players, and he's just injured.
Exactly.
So
it's a bit of a nightmare position for them, honestly, when it comes to Ronnie and what they really have.
Well, Glenn, they got rid of your favorite player.
Who's that?
Big Slow.
Oh, man, my favorite player. They had no choice but to get rid of that baby. Anyway, all right. So that's obviously, one big thing that came out of this is that they're still, quote unquote, unsure. I mean, he says he's unsure about the health of Ronnie. I hope they have some idea. I mean, unsure is scary to hear.
Yeah, I think they're trying to. It's one of those things where, perfect example. When my son goes down at night to sleep, my wife will be like, "He's he's asleep. And I'm like, don't you say anything yet because he's going to wake up. Don't you jinx it now. Right. Like, I think it's one of those things where Ronnie's like riding the bike, doing his thing. And Eric's like, I'm not looking. I'm going to act like he doesn't exist till he's on the field and playing. And after one game, right? Like, then I'll recognize that Ronnie's back. But until then, he ain't back. But let me ask you this, Glenn, in regards to this conversation. Where after hearing Eric, based on wherever you had the likelihood of left tackle being drafted, like what I mean by in a list is highest likelihood of going in the first round, wherever you had that position, did it move up? Did it move down? Did it stay the same in your mind?
Part of me, it's weird because I have this internal battle going on. Like, if I just look at at what's said, then I got to say that tackle has jumped, up in my list of priorities. However, there's a part of me that's going, inside is like, but what if Ronnie's back? Then we can use that pick on this spot and we can use it to grab this guy. But I don't know. I'm just so torn here, Jimbo. I mean, it's definitely going up, but I don't want to see the Ravens need to take a guy at left tackle in the first round because that means they can't take an edge or they can't take.
It's not an ideal situation.
No, absolutely not. And look, there's only one first round pick as it stands right now, and they need at least. I'm thinking at least 3 to 4, big time starters in this draft. And I don't know if you can get a starting left tackle outside of the first round. I mean, they did it with Orlando, but they did it at the right tackle spot. Can they do it at the left tackle spot outside of the first round? I don't know about that.
Doesn't happen very often.
No, not day one.
Yeah, no, it's for sure.
Don't get nervous because I'm here now.